So, you want to make good Super Mario Maker 2 levels, huh? I have 5 tips to show you, so let's jump right in. Tip number 1. Some themes are better than others for your specific idea. I really wanted to use Super Mario World for this idea, where you race thwomps to the bottom of a descending vertical water level. But unfortunately, some people found out very easily that you could just do this. And so the entire point of the level is now busted. So what I ended up having to do was, voila, I ended up redesigning the level for Super Mario 3D World. And here's what happens when you try to slip between the thwomps on this stage. Let's go ahead and get back down to where we were. All right, we're gonna stop. Uh-oh, there's no way through. And I'm dead. Perfect. All right, really quick, don't forget to subscribe for more Mario Maker 2 goodness. Now I have to go through this level normally and erase the thwomps down to the bottom and basically hope I don't end up dying, which I think I'll be able to do. I just have to get past this part. This is the tough part. All right, there we go. Well, now that I've gone ahead and do this, let's go ahead and move on to tip number 2. Choose a limited palette of objects and enemies and stick to them. It forces you to be creative. For this level, I chose piranha plants to keep people away from the sides and the ceilings, spinies to kind of give people the easy way to die if they fell in a pit, and bumblebees, these bee fellows, just to provide jumping platforms and various obstacles, in addition to all the thwomps. And of course, for the palette, we had some springs, a couple breakable blocks, and some regular brick blocks that are unbreakable, to kind of force you through a kind of a maze to get to the bottom. Doing it this way makes your level look cohesive and whole instead of a jumble of random parts. And as you see, this level could easily look like a jumble of parts. But as you're going through it, I hope me signposting with the various enemies and colored blocks helps you figure out which direction you need to go in. All right, so let's move on to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is that you should try something crazy even if you're not sure it's possible. I was not sure that I could balance the falling thwomps with the water level and have a cohesive level at the end of it. But it turns out that it's challenging and it's fun and it's a little zany at the same time. Likewise, I'm not sure switching over to Nintendo content on YouTube is going to work. See, I used to do ARC and building tutorials for that, and now I'm switching over to ROM hack reviews, which are pretty cool, by the way. You should check out my playlist of reviews. But I'm not sure that's going to be a successful content strategy on YouTube. So we'll see. I might make it work or I might crash and burn. And oh my goodness. This course I feel like is a metaphor for my YouTube journey right now. But anyway, let's actually move on and get back to it. Let's play Blackout Timeout. It's a dark level created and based off of Blackout Basement from Donkey Kong Country. As you can see, the level lights up every few seconds at a specific interval of time. The only way I could accomplish that was to use a global timer object that triggered at the same time in a pattern. And that happens to be this little thing. So I had to make sure that one of these was on screen no matter what, so that the global timer itself would not unload, and that it would trigger on screen a sound effect that lights up this whole room. So the sound effect, of course, is this sound effect right here. And it creates a spotlight and lights up the whole level in a dark level, which is pretty cool. But I wasn't sure it was possible because I was having trouble finding that sort of object. I thought maybe a shell bouncing back and forth would work, but once you get far enough away from it, it unloads and it stops working. So that wasn't gonna do it for me. Anyways, once the sound objects go off stream, they don't really tend to play anymore. So we got it working, but it was kind of by the skin of our teeth, and just lucky that Mario Maker 2 had that option available to make it work. Anyway, let's move on to tip number 4. Try telling a story with your level and use the limitations you have to shape that story. So the story here is that the town hall of this little town, the clock tower is going crazy and it just won't shut up. So we need to go in through the basement, reachable through this utility shed, which happens to have a nice mushroom block here, and go up through the basement and into the building and figure out where in the heck this thing is going haywire and maybe who's doing it. So let's go ahead and skip to the end of this. And of course, coming up through the blue pipe goes ahead and brings you up into the place proper, where we go ahead and we find out that our culprit is a Boom Boom. And the battle takes place in the clock tower. It's very Back to the Future-esque. It's kind of fun too, so I hope you enjoy the level. Let's go ahead and move on to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is follow your gut. And we are actually in Super Mario Maker. I wanted to do a slopes course in Super Mario Maker, and this is my experiment to attempt to do it. And the next attempt was to try to do a version of this in Super Mario Maker 2, because that actually has slopes and you could do cool stuff like this. All right, we're back in Super Mario Maker 2, and the attempt here led to a pretty straightforward adaptation of the sledding level, but we also added these things, and we got into a little bit of ski lift action too, as a way to kind of go with the ski slope theme of the previous level in Super Mario Maker. But we didn't get too far with this because, well, it just playing around with these things and waiting for these things to carry you, and not to mention the platforming where while you're waiting for these to kind of play with you. You know, I was kind of hoping we could jump from one to the other and still make kind of an interesting thing, but then, just all that stuff happens and these things get in the way. And so, you know what? We decided to adjust course, and we ended up ditching the snow theme entirely and went completely in the opposite direction with a windy desert level. And we actually kept the ski lifts around instead of doing the slopes. Now, there's a reason for that, is because the slopes don't really have much of a gameplay advantage. They don't give you anything. They just kind of, they're there. But they don't speed you up, and they don't slow you down or give you any sort of advantage unless you're just ducking and sliding into enemies. So I ended up focusing instead on doing something with the claws, and that morphed into doing something with these pegged platforms that move on the railings here, the rails. So it's sort of like a ski lift. It's more of a gondola, but it's different. And I could get the platforming action that I wanted with the saw blades and things. Oh, I survived. Oh, I almost died again. But you get the idea, don't you? So one of the other best tips that I should share with you is to just get started. Don't wait for a perfectly formed idea to just drop into your lap. It never works that way. This level evolved because I just started and I kept iterating on a design idea. And, sometimes it doesn't always work out, but that's okay. It will work out with practice. And that's really what it is practice makes perfect. All right. So I'm going to be posting some Mario Maker 2 level showcases from other people. So if you'd like to see some awesome levels that showcase these tips in action, click on the playlist in the top left. And then go ahead and leave your level codes in the comments below for others to check out some good examples, just like the ones we saw. And I will see you next time. And in the meantime, go make something awesome. Bye-bye.